In this video I'm going to show you how to assemble your Raspberry Pi so that it can go in the case you printed, and hopefully you've printed that. If you haven't, you'll need one, so we'll print that. Don't worry about the buck converter yet, we'll fix that later, we'll put that together later. You'll need 4 long screws that are going to go through this long section of the case on the outer corners. So we'll have 4 of those. And then we need 4 M3 4, 5, or 6 inch or millimeter screws that'll go in to hold the board to the bottom of the case. So we have 4 of those here. If you don't have those, I'll have to give them to you. You'll have to come ask for them. We need a Raspberry Pi, and then we'll need an adapter with a micro card, and I'll give you that. You'll need that. But that card goes into the back end of the Pi, and we'll show you how to set that all up on a different video. But for now, you just need to have one. I'll give you a 16 gig card. That should be plenty to hold some stuff in. So I'm going to set that in the box and put it aside for now. What I want to do first is take the Pi out of the box. Be careful when you're holding this that you hold it by something metal or by the sides. Don't grab it in the middle this way or it can short things out. Before we start, I wanted to show you something. I want to show you where some of the components are on the board. This big silver one in the middle is our main CPU processing unit. This one up on this side with the little raspberry on it is our wireless chip. That's what allows us to go wirelessly. This chip over here that will use the other heatsink is the Ethernet controller, which this port right here is our Ethernet for connecting with a wire. These are USB ports, 4 of those. The new Raspberry Pi 4 has USB 3 ports. This one has USB 2. On this side we have a headphone jack. This little ribbon cable connector is for the camera if you were to put one on. This is an HDMI port that allows us to hook to a TV monitor. This is our power port over here. On the back side, this big main chip in the middle is our graphics chip. And back here on the back, so opposite the USB ports, that's the micro SD card port, which allows us to install the operating system, or the Octoprint in our case. We have another 40-pin header here. That would be for doing experiments or running other hardware later if you decided you wanted to. So the first thing we're going to do before we install this into the board is get your heatsink kit, which I will give you with the board. And if I didn't give you one, you need to ask for it. And it comes with these 3 little heat sinks. This is a copper, then these other 2 are just aluminum, and we need to put those on the chips. This copper one is the one I'm going to start with, and it has a little bit of sticky tape on the back, so you got to peel that off without peeling off the part that goes on the heat sink. So that's a bit of a challenge. This may take 20 minutes to do, but I'll try to get a little piece of it here and peel that off so you can see what we're doing. So there's some sticky tape. It's kind of a 2-sided tape, but it allows heat transfer between the tape and the heat sink. That is going to go on the bottom chip. So if these are my USB ports, I'll flip that over upside down, and I'm going to just stick that heat sink right on the bottom. Try to center it on the chip as good as you can, and then kind of squeeze it down. So in this case, you're not going to have much choice but to kind of squeeze on this side. So just make sure you're holding the metal case, and that should ground you. Okay, and we stick that one on. Then we're going to flip it over, and this great big one goes on our main processor chip. So I'm going to peel the blue off of that one too. Again, try not to peel the tape off with it. We just want to peel off the blue part and leave the white. Okay, and then I don't think it really matters too much which way we orient this, but we need to put that right over the top of our main chip and push that down nice and solid as well so that it can't come off. Then we'll do our other little chip, and that one I believe goes on this chip over here. So we're going to peel this off, maybe. Straighten out that corner a little, okay? And we're going to put that over on this other little chip, kind of up behind that USB. Okay, so we got a heat sink here, one on our big main processor, and then our copper one on the back, which I believe that one's the graphics. All right, once we have the heat sinks on, we'll go ahead and put our pie in the bottom half, and we want to make that so that these fit down inside. These little points here fit down in between the USB ports and the network port. Okay, that should make it line up so that our 4 screws line up there. And I'm going to take one of my small M4 by 6 screws, and we'll line that up with our bottom bolt hole here. By the way, I had to drill these holes out to an 1/8 inch. In fact, I need to show you that right now, I guess, because I didn't do it on this board. After I have installed the heat sinks, I need to drill these holes so that it will accept this M3 screw. So I have a 1/8 drill bit on my drill, and I'm going to carefully go through and drill each one of those a little bit bigger. So that's the 1/8 inch drill bit on the drill. I drilled all 4 holes, blow the dust back off, and we should be ready now to insert the screw into the hole and make sure it fits, which it looks like we do. Right, I already have a card in this one. I'm going to pull that card out and just set it aside temporarily. Again, I'm going to take my motherboard or my Raspberry Pi board and line that up so that the front, these 2 little knobs in the front go between the ports, and then I'll line up one of my back ones with a screw hole and put one of my M3 6mm or 5mm, whatever you get will work. These 6s are actually just a little bit too long, but they work. So I figured I'd use one of those in case I poked out the bottom so that we can use the shorter screws on your guys's. But I'll get that screwed down in there a little ways. I want to get them all started before I tighten any of them. So I like to kind of put the screw on the end of the Allen wrench and just spin it. You want to try and get this as straight as you can as you start it in the hole. There we go. I think we got it started. Oops. Again, I want to get them all started in their hole before I tighten any of them. That one's going to be a little bit more challenging because we got pins in the way. You want to try to make these go in as straight as possible. If they bind, it'll break the little support on the inside, and then you got to print a new one. Alright, now I got them all started, I can go ahead and twist them in tight. That'll hold the pie in place in the case so it doesn't rattle around or come loose. This is also why we needed to install the heat sinks first, because otherwise you get to take this off and put them on later, which I did the first time. Okay, so there it is in. Now I'm going to take the top and I'm going to orient it so that these three longer pieces go down in between the ports. It'll kind of fit naturally. Okay. Then I'll take one of my long screws, we'll put it in one of the corners. Now you may have to drill out the holes slightly, but you want to leave the shelf in there so that the head of the screw has something to fit on. Okay, so again, I'm just getting these started. I'm going to get them down a ways, but not tighten them until I get all four of them started. And the first time you put these in, you're going to be making threads in the hole. So you want to make sure that you go slow and straight. I've already had these in, so I'm able to go a little faster on them. And I'm trying to keep this oriented so you can see what's going on, but it's kind of tough with these small parts. Alright, I'm putting these screws in until they're just a little flush, maybe even slightly under the surface of the plastic. You don't need to tighten them much more than that, or else they will probably strip out and then your top won't stay on. And since the top goes on the rail like that and holds the whole thing on, you kind of need it to stay on. Alright, get them all snug down. It goes on the rail like this. And we'll put two M4 bolts in to hold it to the rail with some T-nuts into your extrusion. We'll point these forward, and then our card access hole is in the back. So that's what we're going to do next. That's pretty much the assembly or the installation of the board into the case. Pretty simple. You'll need to come get the screws from me and the card and the other things we're going to need. The next video will be how to download Octoprint onto your little micro card and then set it up so that it will work once we plug it in. This is going to basically be the operating system. That's it for this video, so we'll go ahead and set that aside for now and begin programming our operating system onto our card.